Hey, it's Nancy Schenker, the Geezer Proofer, and I'm back for another episode of the Geezer Proofer, How to Be a Badass After 50. And I've had a couple of guests lately who actually were way under 50, but today we're back to our usual format. And my guest today is Tonya Mack, who just turned 50 this past year and is a total badass. So Tonya and I met probably about a year ago in a women's group and became instant friends, even though we're from very different backgrounds, different places, different experiences, but we just gelled right from the get-go. And what's interesting too is that people who are in direct sales, otherwise known as multi-level marketing, have a really bad rap, and usually other people kind of run away from them screaming because they're afraid that they're going to be hard sell. So I was actually kind of shocked to find out that Tonya does work in direct sales, and we're going to talk a little bit later about how Tonya got into the industry. But she totally rocked my world in terms of how I think about direct sales now and the people who get into that industry. In fact, last night I was at a dinner party with her and some other direct sales people, and just such a great, warm group of people who sell based on building relationships rather than hard sell. And as I have often said lately, I would much rather deal with Tonya on a regular basis, and I've bought products from her. I'd rather work with someone like her than some of these rando dudes who are messaging me on LinkedIn all day long to get me to try to buy their enterprise level software. So without further ado, here is Tonya Mack, a good friend of mine and a sales executive for Rodan and Fields, otherwise known as R&F.
Yes.
So, Tonya, you have a really interesting origin story. You were in the Air Force before you started selling Rodan and Fields and before you moved to Arizona. So how did you get into the Air Force in the first place? What did you do in the Air Force?
I grew up in a military family. My father was in the Air Force, so I've been around the Air Force my whole life. And when it came time to graduate high school, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I did know that I wanted to be able to support myself and to get a master's degree. And I didn't want my parents to go into debt doing that. So I saw the Air Force as the best way to do that so I could figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I initially enlisted for 6 years and stayed for 26 years because
Wow.
I loved it. And
Did you know how to fly?
no,
Do you know how to shoot a gun?
I do. I do. There are certain things that's so funny because a lot of times when people hear that you're in the Air Force, they think everybody in the Air Force flies. Not the case. There's so many people who have to support the pilots and make the whole thing run. So I was known as a support officer, personnel officer, did a lot of the HR type stuff.
And I've actually seen pictures of Tonya in her uniform, and she intimidates even me.
Oh, wow.
And I often say to her, if there's ever a war, I will gladly jump into a foxhole with Tonya. She is a total badass.
Thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about how you got into selling skincare and hair care after having spent almost 3 decades in a male-dominated industry.
You know what? It is so crazy to even think that I'm in this space now. If someone had told me I'd be doing direct sales when I was knee deep in my Air Force career, I would have probably called you some names, unflattering names. But it is just amazing how God works and how things turn out. I always tell people when they're leaving the military to be open to anything because I never in a million years thought I'd be here. But when it came time for me to retire from the military, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew some things I definitely wanted the freedom to be able to do. And at the top of that list was being my own boss and doing things that I wanted to do when I wanted to do it, not having to be at a certain place at a certain time, thoroughly enjoying what I did after the military, and just finding a love, right? I wanted to be able to travel to see my friends and family because my parents were in Oklahoma. I have friends all over the U.S. as a result of being in the military. And I wanted the freedom to be able to support myself, do what I love, and see my friends and family whenever I wanted to. So My friend who introduced me to Rodan and Fields, bless her heart, she tried to introduce it to me probably 7 or 8 different times, and I was not even trying to hear a word of it. Okay. But when it came time for me to retire and I thought about all the things that I wanted to do after the military, it started kind of making sense that maybe I should check this Rodan and Fields thing out. And I did. I took a chance because it is total opposite of everything I had ever done for 26 years. And I am shocked at how blissfully happy I am in this life.
Well, when you think about it, in the early days, women who wanted to make extra money sold Tupperware or sold Avon or sold Mary Kay. And it's only because some of these companies have gotten greedy and have not done the right kind of sales training. They have gotten a very bad rap. But the reality is, it's a great way for people who want to be entrepreneurial, but don't want all the startup costs and the branding expense that go along with starting your own business. And I do think that LuLaRoe, that show that Amazon produced, did a real disservice to the whole multi-level marketing industry, where a lot of that bad juju and pyramid schemes and forcing people to keep large amounts of inventory. But talk to me a little bit about your philosophy of selling, because as I said, I didn't even realize that you sold skincare until I knew you for probably 2 or 3 months.
You know, I tell people all the time when it comes to direct sales, it definitely matters what company you're with and how you're trained, but it's also an individual way that you carry yourself that matters to me. And I never want to see people running when they see me, when they see my number on their phone. I want them to be excited versus avoiding me. So I personally make it a relationship-based transaction. And I always make sure that people that I deal with aren't feeling like a transaction. I'm in the relationship business. I love connection. And I try to tell people who are interested in joining me in business to be real and try to establish that connection before the sale. Nobody wants to feel like a transaction or that all that you're talking to them for is to get their money in your pocket.
Exactly. So those of you who are only listening and don't have the video can't see this, but I will look at the camera. As many of you know, I am 67, and I get told all the time that I don't look 67, although I argue that this is the new 67. I was blessed with good genes. My skin, considering I spend a lot of time in the sun, is really not bad and has not been aging terribly. But I did start using a RNF product, the peel.
Yes.
And I really can see a huge difference in my skin. And a lot of people 50 and older, and even younger, have this compulsion to erase every wrinkle and every scar and every mark from their faces. So what is your view of natural skincare versus surgical skincare?
I think that one of my philosophies is aging is a privilege and you need to look good doing it. So everybody wants to hopefully grow old, but there's no need to look old and decrepit as you're doing it. We want to look good. So there's nothing wrong with using a quality product that's going to make you look and feel your best, because I believe when you look good, you feel good. And I want people to prance through life versus just strolling and letting life happen to them. And I really think if you look good, if your skincare looks good, if your hair looks good, you're going to walk a little taller, be a little more confident. And if I can help people in that way, I'm happy to. It is the most amazing thing. And when I get text or messages that say, oh my gosh, I'm loving my skin or my hair is this or that, I get such joy because I want you to love the products. And if you don't, I want you to be honest with me so I can either correct it or get you your money back. No, I realize this is a environment or where money is tough. It's hard. So I want you to spend your money on things that you love. And if you don't love the products that I am selling to you, I want to get you your money back.
Yeah, and I'm a real believer that when you look at the cost benefit, yeah, you could, I got an estimate to get a lower facelift. I didn't want one. I went to my dermatologist and said, what can I do about my neck? Because, as we age, we get that waddle, which becomes much more visible when we're on Zoom. And he wanted $20,000 for a lower facelift under general anesthesia, to which I replied, for $20,000, I can go to Florence and buy a bunch of cashmere turtlenecks and just hide that sucker.
Exactly.
But instead, what I started doing is using good quality products. And you're totally right that once my skin got a little smoother, it will never look the way it did when I was a teenager. And again, I'm not bashing people who do go for surgical or invasive treatments because to your point, it can make a huge difference in self-esteem.
Absolutely.
But if I could do it naturally through diet, through using quality products, that is the route that I want to go. And I'd rather leave more money to be able to travel and enjoy life and enjoy my kids and my grandkids.
Absolutely.
And I look at those wrinkles that I do have as being, using a military analogy, being my battle scars.
Or badges of honor.
Exactly. I love that. Badges of honor. So for those of you who are sitting and looking in the mirror every day and going, oh, I've got, crow's feet. You're like, no, those are my badges of honor from seeing the world for the last 60 years.
Absolutely. I love that.
And that's part of what I'm trying to do through this podcast is help people find out how they can be, as I say, beezers rather than geezers.
Right.
People who be active, be in the moment, be proud of themselves and what they've done, as opposed to just counting the days until they leave the earth.
Right. Nobody wants to think about that. Live your life, your best life while you're here with no regrets.
And why don't you tell our listeners what you did for your 50th birthday this year? I thought that was pretty badass.
Oh my gosh. Well, I love to travel, and I think I learned or got that love of travel as a kid because my dad was in the military and we were stationed in Spain for 5 years. So we experienced everything European and different cultures. And when I joined the military, I got stationed in Germany. And every other weekend, I was in another country experiencing goodness in life. So,
had you ever been to Europe before that?
Before,
you lived with
as a kid. So, I love to travel, and 50 is a milestone birthday, and I wanted to mark it really well. I have a twin sister and an older sister, so it was a perfect opportunity for us to get together and do something that they had never experienced. So we went to Temecula wine country. Most people hear about Napa, but Temecula is in Southern California. It's a little quieter and cozier, but we did some wine tasting and went on a hot air balloon ride, and it was amazing. Amazing.
And you also went to Greece this year.
I did. I said I love traveling. So I did go to Greece. I have a really good girlfriend that I met when I was in the military, stationed in Germany. We mesh really well. And we both have a crazy love of Europe. So every couple of years, we try to take a really good trip that we can, save up for and thoroughly enjoy and look forward to and have amazing memories as a result.
And you did the big dress photo shoot.
Oh my gosh, I felt like Cinderella. There's this thing called the flying dress photos, and you can do it in a lot of overseas countries. In Greece, I think you can do it in Abu Dhabi, and I'm not sure where else, maybe Jamaica, but I think Greece has the most beautiful background. So I treated myself, and I did actually feel like a princess for a day, and I love those pictures, and they get a lot of attention. So live your life. Do what makes you happy.
They're great. That was like the ultimate Instagram moment. I thought they were photoshopped, and it's like, oh, wait a second. No, that's right. Tanya's in Europe this week.
Where's Tanya this week? Exactly.
So let's just talk a little bit about skincare again.
Okay.
What is your regimen? How many hours a morning or a day does it take to look as beautiful as you do?
You're so sweet. What I'm also super proud about with Rodan and Fields is that we have usually a 4-piece regimen. And people look at that and are like, oh my gosh, 4 steps. I don't have time for this. But, it's a cleanser, a toner, and a moisturizer, usually an AM one that has sunscreen in it and a PM one that doesn't. So a matter of minutes, less than 5 minutes, you can take care of your face and it looks good. It is important though to have quality products that have the right ingredients that actually work. So it's important to use quality skincare. Yes, our regimens usually range around $200, but they last anywhere from 60 to 90 days. A little bit goes a long way. And if you break that down and, do the math, that's $4 a day, if that. And you can't tell me people aren't spending that much and more on a Starbucks each day. So, okay, you have your coffee, or do you care about your face?
And your face is one of the first things people see. Like I always say that, especially as we age, it's our skin, it's the glasses that we wear, because many of us are nearsighted, farsighted, both. And what you're wearing on your eyes could be a fashion statement.
Absolutely.
And your hair.
And your hair.
Yeah.
And your hair. So, and I love to keep people guessing. Most of the time people tell me, oh, you don't look 50. I would have said you were in your 30s. And I love to keep people guessing. That's fun.
I love that. Keep people guessing.
Yeah.
That is the sign of a beezer and not a geezer.
There you go.
And I'm always embarrassed when I think somebody is younger than I am older than I am. And then I find out that they're like 10 or 15 years younger. And then I'm like, whoa, what kind of lifestyle have they been living? And we did on one of our other shows talk about the impact of stress. Clearly, genetic makeup has a lot to do with it. As we get older, sometimes, we do have chronic illnesses or other things going on in our lives that affect how we look. Like one of the things I noticed is that when I worked in corporate, I had very deep furrows in my forehead all the time. And once I started my own business, they gradually started to disappear.
Yes.
And as I mentioned on another show, I wear my Aura ring and I'm able to track my stress level, which has become really important to me because if I have been consuming too much alcohol, not getting enough sleep, eating crap, like the French fries that I had last night, which, by the way, were delicious.
Really good.
I do see it in my face and in my skin the next day.
Yeah. Yeah. But, all those things are going to happen. But I am surprised to learn that a lot of people don't take care of their skin.
We were talking last night to a gentleman who is over 50, and it's very funny. He has works as a mechanic. And when I went to shake his hands were like as soft as a baby's butt. Not that I've handled many babies' butts lately, but I discovered that he's been using the hand cream.
Yes.
So again, this is not an ad for R&F. I don't want Tonya and I to be put in that bucket of R&F people who just don't ever had to shut up about their product.
Right.
But I am a true believer. And, I started buying this stuff just because I liked Tonya and wanted to support her business. Before that, I was not really particularly brand loyal. I would buy whatever a facialist recommended or what I thought were good quality products at the drugstore. But to your point, a lot of the stuff that is being mass marketed, if you read the labels, it's just like food. You find out there are all kinds of chemical ingredients in there that you really don't need. You just want the good stuff.
Right. And a lot of times you buy product and it doesn't do what you want it to do, and it's sitting in your cabinet. I was so excited when I started with this business because I'm a believer in the product, and I could go to my medicine cabinet and get rid of all the crap that I knew didn't work and fill it up with stuff that I knew worked. And it's so much easier to get behind a company and a brand that's known for greatness. I mean, how hard is that?
It's
amazing.
like food for your skin.
Yes.
The same way you monitor what you put into your body, you make sure that you're putting good gas in your car, you're getting your oil changed.
Right.
So that is the key to aging like a badass.
Gracefully.
Yeah, aging gracefully like a badass is taking those steps that you need to take, not to necessarily reverse the clock,
Right.
but to just look and feel better.
And, when I see a teenager who has acne all over their face, and we know how cruel teenagers can be, and after a couple of weeks, sometimes a month, their skin looks amazing. And it almost brings me to tears sometimes because, like I said, you walk taller and prouder because you look good.
And you've saved them years of therapy and trauma, because you know that even when they're 50 or 60, they're going to remember the kid who didn't ask them to dance at the prom because they were covered with pimples.
Yeah, for sure.
So, that's great. So where can people find you, Tonya, if they are interested in learning more about your products?
You know what? You can find me on Facebook just under my name, Tonya, Tonya, Mac, Mack, or you can find me on Instagram at LadyTMac42.
Very cool. And Tonya did bring some of her products on the show. And for those of you who are just listening and don't have the video, I will have to describe it to you. But they are coming out with a new product for the holiday season that I'm kind of obsessed with. It is this glitter lotion that makes your body glow, but like not so much that it looks totally unnatural.
You don't look like a Christmas tree is what I tell people.
Exactly. It's like skin tinsel. All right, what do I call it? I call it sparkle sauce. But what is the real name for it?
It's a shimmering body oil. And it smells, not only does it look amazing on your skin, but it smells amazing. And I was at an event last week, and there's a lady who sells candles. So her job is to recognize ingredients and scents. And she was so intrigued because she loved the smell of this oil that we had to actually look up the ingredients so she could not drive herself crazy trying to figure it out. So it's a combination of a lot of citrusy stuff and coconut and peony and white tea. But when you say citrusy, a lot of times people think, I don't want to be walking around smelling like an orange or a lemon. It's not that by any means. So it's part of a 3-part holiday special where it has this shimmering body oil, a hand cream, and a foot cream. And it's a limited edition. So if enough people buy it, maybe the company will keep making it versus just around the holidays. We're hoping that's the case because it has been selling really good. And the shimmering body oil, it is not in clumps. It's not, like I said, you're not walking around like a Christmas tree. I think it adds just enough class, enough sexiness to get you noticed and to feel good.
Yeah, and it also is just a great stocking stuffer. Like if you have to do a Secret Santa kind of thing at work, it's just a great way to support the brand.
Yes.
And again, I do keep coming back to that. We know that people over 50 are really struggling very often with bringing income in.
Yes.
And I wrote a piece about it for Medium about how direct sales have gotten a very, very bad rap. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of people out there who are saying, oh, start your own business. And as somebody who started her own business 20 years ago from the ground up, mm-hmm. buying my own office supplies, renting my own office space, hiring my own people. It's an expensive commitment. And entrepreneurship is not for everybody.
No.
And if you can step into somebody else's business, frankly, being in direct sales is no different from running a franchise sandwich shop or a donut shop.
Without all the overhead costs. It's amazing. It's amazing. You don't have to have inventory. With our company, some companies do require that, but what was so attractive to me about Rodan and Fields is I didn't have to put out a lot of money to invest and, hopefully make back in the first 5 years of business. It's turnkey business, and all you're really doing is sharing about product with the people that you know. It's just like the simplest thing ever. I think a lot of times people overcomplicate it.
Yeah, and Tonya has never, ever, ever tried to recruit me for her downline or whatever it's called. Yes. And that's like the other fear that like the draft, you're going to befriend somebody who works in direct sales.
Right.
And before you know it, you're going to be working for them and selling stuff that you didn't really want to sell in the first place. And I haven't had that experience at all.
I'm so glad.
Yeah. So you are, you're not only helping people's skin to look better, but you're changing the reputation of direct sales one step at a time, and giving more women, and including women over 50, a way to make an income when the corporate world has sort of kicked them to the curb. And even retail stores, in many of them, it's very, very hard to get a job once you're over 50. So it is a really, really good alternative for people who are social, who are outgoing, who like to network. In fact, this guy we were talking to last night, he was thinking of running his whole business just through YouTube videos, which is an interesting strategy. So as long as you're outgoing, either in the real world or on camera, you can be a good salesperson. It's just another way to sell something that you believe in.
There are multiple ways. You could line up 10 different Rodan and Phil's consultants, and they could run their business 10 different ways. That's what I love about the freedom when it comes to direct sales. It's a good thing.
So, again, wear those wrinkles and those scars as badges of honor, as Tonya said. I love that. I salute you. And you can find the Geezer Proofer on Apple, Spotify. It's also on YouTube and Vimeo if you'd like to see the footage and see what Tonya and I look like in the real world. You can also follow me on Instagram or Facebook. My handle is The On Switch, TheOnSwitch, which is my marketing and writing company. And as I always like to say to my listeners, be a beezer and not a geezer. Tune in often. I'm going to be dropping an episode every week from now on, and I hope you'll join me. So geezer proof your life. Peace out.